guys, happy Tuesday. Car share for you very quickly. This is a follow-up to a YouTube video I posted yesterday where I replied to some of my questions from my clients, and I wanted to follow up on here because I feel that it's really key to have a conversation about it. Yesterday when I posted about the carbohydrates and LDL cholesterol part, when I talked about LDL cholesterol, I mentioned some influencers in the carnivore space that say very confidently that LDL cholesterol doesn't matter, and they don't take into consideration ApoB at all. But also, again, they're biased and they don't say they are, which we all are, and we should all admit it. And they are also selling something that has got to do with the trend they're pushing, and sometimes they're not very truthful either. For example, Sean Baker had a video where he was talking about the harmful effects of fruit, and behind him there was a big bowl of bananas, and then he took that down, but somebody recorded it. I mean, it's a show, and it's ridiculous, and it's funny. So I call them clowns, and someone got so upset saying that I'm judging them for the way that they eat because of their diet, and I'm like, no, that's not the case. And then they're like, you're using a clown, which is a derogative term, and I'm like, no, it's not a derogative term. Like, first of all, I know you don't know me, so you're not expected to understand how this thing works in here, but let me tell you something. If I want to offend someone, the last word I'm gonna use is clown. The last one. There are way better words that I'm gonna use for that person, and I'm also not gonna be lightly talking about it. I'm gonna have a serious conversation about this. So I didn't mean it in a derogative way. I literally meant it like they are clowns. Like, they're entertaining, they are funny, and they're ridiculous. But I do have a problem with them sharing information which is actually hurting people, which they are. So that's the problem I have, and they're making money in the process. So that's something that I have against them, and that I am very, very outspoken about, because it's not right. And I am sure that nobody can say that's right. It's like me saying I am going to endorse a product that I know is actually not really good for you, and I wouldn't even use it. And you can say, but they're eating that way. Okay, maybe. But maybe they eat some vegetables and don't tell people. We don't know. In any case, maybe they're eating that way, maybe they endorse it. Okay, but they are also talking about it like it's science, that the way that they're doing things is right, and actually it's not backed by science, because science shows that fiber is very important for our microbiome, for our gut health, and it's really, really key. And there are people that can process fiber, and we talked about this yesterday, and there are ways to go about it, and I get it. But it's like me saying I'm going to endorse a product that I would not use even if they paid me $1 million, and I will take that $1 million and tell everybody to buy it, even if I know that potentially can hurt them. That's not ethical. Okay, so they are not ethical. So they are funny, and they are ridiculous, and they're clowns in that way, but that's dangerous. So that's how I meant it, and so I wanted to clarify, because that person really went at me, and I get it that they can get upset, and they have all the rights to have their opinion. But I got, when someone becomes really preachy, like, hey, I replied to you, like, and actually it's funny, because the last reply I said, I'm like, okay, thank you, I will be more mindful next time of the words that I use, because I will. And he never replied to that one, so I hope he does. In any case, I'm not here to make people happy, and I'm not here, I'm not here to do a beauty pageant and be like me. I don't care. I'm gonna share things. If you take it in a way, you take it in a way. If you take it in another way, so be it. Sila, it's life. So we don't like everybody. That's just life. But I didn't mean it. But of course, I didn't mean it, in a bad way. And so I wanted to clarify that. However, I am gonna just restate again that what these guys are doing is dangerous. It's not right. It's not ethical. They are making money out of this. They're not looking at science. They're looking mostly at epidemiological studies, which is basically observational studies of populations, which are great. I actually like looking at those things to get an idea, to get a sense. But remember that then there are so many variables that are not taken into consideration. And when you do a randomized control study, then you are taking care of certain variables, making sure that they're all the same for everyone. For example, exercise and diet, right? So everybody does a regime, and then the diet will be different between the two. You have sometimes you have, especially if you're trying a product, you can have a blind trial, so people don't know what they're taking, so there's not even the placebo effect that can take place, or maybe that is, but the point is that, you know, there is no, you have a controlled state that you are observing, so it's much more accurate than just broad observational studies. And they never acknowledge this, and they also use this as a selling point. Now, I mentioned Paul Saladino, Sean Bakers, and I'm gonna just say these two are funny. They are actually like clownish a little bit, because if you look at their videos, sometimes it's hilarious to watch, really. Regardless the dangerous information, like they're actually quite entertaining. You can see that they're really good, they're good salespeople, they're funny. With Peterson, I don't know too much about him, but I do know his daughter has an autoimmune disease, and she really can't eat anything. She can't, but animal products. Oh, actually, just the flesh. I think she can't have anything. But as a vegan, that's obviously something that I don't support, and it hurts me. As a human, I'm like, okay, what is this girl gonna eat? If she knows that she doesn't eat this, she can't eat anything else, then yeah, of course. Do I wish that she gets the help she needs to find another way? Yes, of course, that's like paramount. But the problem I have with Jordan Peterson, is that because of his daughter, he talks about this as the way to eat. And I, for example, and this is of course an observational, this is just an anecdotal, I have a friend who has severe digestive issues, starting with colitis that got so bad that he couldn't eat anything, that he had to be hospitalized. He's been on steroids forever. It's not fun, okay? For him, it's not fun. And he was listening to Jordan Peterson, and he started eating more meat and avoiding the fiber, and it got worse for him. So to the point that I wouldn't be surprised if at some point he gets colon cancer, because of the amount of inflammation that he's been in for now 3 years, okay? So that is not okay to tell everybody that this works for everyone, especially when the science doesn't support it. They need to understand that there is responsibility that comes with everything we talk about. So the reason I am the first person that we say science doesn't know everything. It can be biased, it can be narrow. I get it. And I also, I am very skeptical of many things in the allopathic field. But I think that starting from a point where you're observing what the results are for similar studies that are looking at different things, studies that are coming from different people, that are sponsored by different people, that hopefully have no conflict of interest. Sometimes they do, and they have to share it. Sometimes they don't, and that's awesome. But when you see these things, I always look at, okay, what's the majority of people going to say? Like yesterday, what I was saying is a whole food plant-based diet, solely plants, can work perfectly for people. It really can. If you do it right, you can get all your nutrients. You have to supplement some things like B12, but then again, even people on omnivore diet should actually supplement, because even the animals are supplementing. B12 is not an actual vitamin, it's the byproduct of bacteria that is found in water and soil. Given the state of our water and soil, there's not much of that bacteria, so even the animals don't produce, especially in factory farming, where they don't even have access to these, pastures. They are confined in bacteria, not the ones that create B12 riddled spaces. So it's dangerous, but they take supplements, because otherwise they wouldn't have B12, they'd be deficient. So all these things that we don't talk about are there. Like, this is known information. So this this is a very good diet to be on. Now, there are people that, as I said yesterday, might not be able to digest fiber, and we don't digest fiber, our microbiome does, and the good bacteria in the microbiome. And some people don't have enough variety of bacteria, they don't have a good population, they don't have a healthy gut bacteria, so anything can cause havoc in the gut, like serious digestive issues. So you have to look at their health status, where they're starting, and then get them used to a certain way of eating. So there are caveats, there are things to consider. But And at the same time, science also shows that a Mediterranean diet, the original Mediterranean diet, not the way that the Mediterranean countries are eating now, that is mostly plants with some animal products, can also be healthy. And as I mentioned yesterday, as a vegan, that's of course not gonna suit my bias, and I'm gonna admit it. And as a vegan, I'm like, okay, but if we can do it without the animals, isn't it better? Yes. But from a scientific point of view, they've done so many studies on the Mediterranean diet, it proves that actually it's good for longevity, vitality, for health, and so on. Because the animal products are very minimal, and the most of the diet is plants. So again, plants shine in these contexts, in these populations. And when someone has a autoimmune disease or digestive disorders or whatever that prevents them from doing well with plants, it's their personal thing, and we need to understand what's going on there and trying to rehabilitate. But telling everyone that that's the way to do it because you're doing it, because when the science doesn't prove that, that's what I mean by saying reckless. And Jordan Peterson is more serious, I feel, in this, and not as salesy and fun. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I don't follow, like, I've watched a couple of videos. I'm not interested in him. And the other two, I'm not interested in either, but because they're so loud, it's like the Liver King, right? I mean, he's so obnoxious in his way of presenting stuff that you can't look away sometimes. You're like, oh my gosh, is this guy for real? Because he sits outside half naked with this big thing in his hands and of like raw liver. And, you know, you're like, it's disturbing, but you can't look away because they have that wow shock factor about them, because I know that that's what sells, right? And because if you think about it, right, and let's be honest, the average person like you and I are quite conservative in the way that we present information, present ourselves. We don't go somewhere and be like, je suis là, you know, all like whistles and blows and whistles and lighting, like, you know, like the spotlight on us. We are not that, like, most people are not like that. But you have characters like them that are showbiz, and they will come in a room and you can't look away, and they will be on these platforms for social media, in social media, that will give them that spotlight, and God knows they're gonna take advantage of it. So this is what I meant yesterday when I said they're clowns and they're entertaining and they're ridiculous and they're funny, but they're also dangerous. So yeah, I wanted to clarify this because I feel like, again, this person got really upset, and I'm very sorry that he did. And, you know, he probably unfollowed me because he said he would, and that's okay, whatever. But I wanted to share this because, again, try to get to know me as well. Like, when I use words, I don't always use them maybe I should be a little more mindful about how people see things. But then, of course, you become so restricted. Sometimes I just use words because they're beautiful, funny words, and they are light-hearted. Like, a clown for me is light-hearted. I mean, unless you're talking about It, which is like dangerous, scary, and horror movie. But you know what I mean? It's like, who cares? But some people take things personal, and so, okay, I will be more mindful next time, because of course I don't want to offend people, but at the same time, I also don't want to walk on eggshells and be like, oh, somebody can get offended about this. You know what? There's worse stuff to get offended online, honestly. So, the bigger scheme of things, this is really not a big deal. Anyway, I wanted to clarify this. I hope this makes sense. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.